T-5.
Before we went up the first time, you couldn't turn invisible. Ben wasn't a rock.
The best pilot in the world right here.
Yeah. Best looking, he means.
And Johnny never caught fire.
Ben has always been a rock. Johnny is Johnny.
Hi.
And I am right here. Whatever life throws at us.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, Marvel's First Family are making their long-awaited debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they're also marking the first film of Phase 6. But will this new phase kick off with a bang? Let's find out in my review of the Fantastic Four First Steps. We're leaving Earth 616 and heading over to Earth 828 for a jaunt with Reed, Sue, Johnny, and Ben, otherwise and collectively known as the Fantastic Four. This film picks up events 4 years removed from their fateful expedition to space, when after a brush with a cosmic storm rendered all 4 astronauts with unique and special powers. Now an iconic superhero team, they find themselves facing their greatest threat yet, as a herald of one known as Galactus is sent to Earth, bringing word of the planet's impending and inevitable doom. I think it's pretty safe to say that luck has not been on the side of the Fantastic Four in a live-action feature film sense, because they've had 3 films released. 4 if you want to count the unreleased Roger Corman film. And yet, none of them have been loved, let alone particularly well liked. The mid-2000s installments, despite me liking them probably more than most, they were incredibly cheesy. And Fant4stic, because I just refuse to call it anything else, well, that just seemed to make every mistake conceivable. I mean, having it's clobbering time line, the line that is so euphoric whenever you hear the Thing say it, having that originate from Ben's older brother who would say it just before he would beat him senseless. No. Just no. And so when the rights reverted back to Disney and in the hands of the MCU, I think pretty much most of us had our fingers and toes crossed, hoping that they would give them the film that they deserve. And we've had quite the wait. But I am very thankful to say that the Fantastic Four First Steps isn't just by far the best Fantastic Four film that we have ever had. I would go so far as to say that we have kicked Phase 6 off brilliantly, and this may be the best project that we've seen from the MCU, dare I say, since Endgame. First and foremost, the most important aspect of any Fantastic Four movie is that you get the characters and the relationships they have with one another right. And that comes down to the casting. All 4 of these heroes are such richly layered characters from the comics that you need to ensure that you have cast actors who are able to explore such layers, but also have excellent chemistry amongst one another so that they feel like a family. Because the Fantastic Four, you just can't present them in the same way that you do the Avengers. These characters have deeply rooted connections that you need to have the film explore. And thankfully, though, the casting, all of the casting, is spot on. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, it did have me initially concerned, because I was worried that Pascal was being cast because he's the flavor of the month and he's in basically everything nowadays. However, as Reed, he's a near perfect fit. The amazing thing about Reed Richards as a character is that because his mind moves a million miles a minute with computations for every single possible scenario, that the rest of him, particularly his mouth, struggles to catch up. And when the stakes become increasingly personal, Reed finds it difficult not only to formulate a plan to save the Earth, but also to formulate a plan that doesn't rely on his sense of immediacy and catastrophizing, that he is able to clearly find the best and most appropriate plan possible. And Pascal really, I think, taps into that sense of Reed's character very well. But often acting as Reed's anchor to bring him down to planet Earth is Vanessa Kirby's Susan Storm. Now, she is a cracking mind in her own right. She has a tremendous sense of steadfast determination, but that means that she will occasionally butt heads against Reed. But in their dynamic and relationship, that is what works so well for me. Usually in the past Fantastic Four films, their relationship always comes apart because Reed is just unable to prioritize any of his personal matters. But in this, there is an actual philosophical and ethical difference that they find themselves conflicting over, and that for me makes for such a more interesting dynamic and a real test of their relationship. Ebon Moss-Bachrach, he was perfect casting as Ben Grimm when it was first announced, and he is perfect casting having actually seen the film. This time around, though, we're not focused so much on Ben struggling as an outsider with his rocky look, because he's had 4 years to move on from that. However, there are some subtle moments where you can tell that it is still lingering in the back of Ben's mind. Primarily, though, he is the glue that holds the family together, whether it be piloting spaceships, being the heavy of the team, or adding a little bit of extra flavor into the family meal. No matter what, he is always there. As for Johnny, he was the biggest surprise for me. I had no doubt that Joseph Quinn would do well in the role, but typically, Johnny, he's not usually the most interesting of characters. He's the hothead that ladies love and tends to put his fiery foot in it. But in the first steps, he's still got that eager, ambitious attitude who, still fawns over the Silver Surfer, but it's the ambition that leads him to make his own discoveries and contribute in a way that isn't just reliant on his ability to flame on. It is by far the most interesting that I have seen the character of Johnny Storm, and Joseph Quinn plays it with such enthusiasm that I really can't wait to see what else this character is going to get up to when playing in now this MCU sandbox. What this family also succeed in doing is their ability to resolve such dangers and threats, not just by punching and using their powers, but by using science. The Fantastic Four, guys, they're nerds. They're scientists. They are genius level minds. And so it was really, really awesome to see them attempt to resolve certain situations from a scientific perspective. However, though, that isn't to say that the film is completely absent of action. When we do get action scenes, they are as thrilling as you would hope they would be. All 4 members of the Fantastic Four, they get their own spotlight in which they're utilizing their moments in a really iconic and impressive way. There is one sequence in particular that takes up quite a significant chunk of the second act that, from a visual perspective, it is very clearly inspired by Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, but for those that know me, that is not a bad thing. A lot of it takes place in space, especially towards the latter part of this sequence, which then becomes an interstellar pursuit, which is just so cool. I have no qualms about this entire sequence whatsoever. It is exciting, it's nail-biting in places, visually it is dazzling. It's just everything that I would kind of want to have in a Fantastic Four movie. Not just that, it might be one of the most impressive entire sequences that we have seen in the MCU in a long freaking time. What I also loved about the Fantastic Four First Steps is this world that we are introduced to. I think it is important for some people to know who necessarily aren't caught up on all of the multiversal adventures that has been going on in the MCU, in that this Fantastic Four movie takes place in a parallel universe. It takes place in a different Earth entirely to the one that we are used to seeing. This takes place in Earth 828. And so, from a directorial perspective, director Matt Shakman was able to play a lot more. He doesn't have to adhere to this world that we're used to. So in that sense, this Earth can feel a little bit more funky. We get a lot of retro 60s iconography, technology that is inherently analog and yet far more advanced than anything our Earth is used to. And despite this, get ready for this, being the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Fantastic Four, because it is set in this other universe, it means that you are not required to have background knowledge on every single Disney Plus show, on every single animation or Marvel special presentations for you to understand what is going on. It plays out entirely disconnected from anything that we've seen before. Its sole purpose is to establish these new characters, this new world, this team. It is not preoccupied with trying to feature little Easter eggs and cameos from other superheroes or lay a groundwork for a sequel or future enterprises. No, its sole purpose is to tell the film with these characters in it, and for an opening, for an introduction to this Fantastic Four, that is exactly what we needed. And as well, this film, it has moments of humor that those moments of humor aren't draining. They don't sap away from any dramatic or emotional moments. You have a few jokes here or there, but for the most part, it is played seriously. Again, I don't want all that goofy humor that completely overrides any moments of dramatic consequence because we have to throw in a silly little gag now and then. And finally, the cherry that you can place atop this very delicious pie is the score from Michael Giacchino, who, by the way, has just gone hell for leather. Now, I'm sure we have all heard the, at this time, iconic Fantastic Four theme. But the score provides such a great snapshot of just this world in general, but instills a real sense of command and awe that I think a lot of superhero scores nowadays tend not to bother about. As far as villains go, the Fantastic Four find themselves pitted against Shalabal, which is this incarnation of the Silver Surfer, and the Devourer of Worlds himself, Galactus. This time, thankfully, there are no space clouds in sight. Julia Garner, as the Silver Surfer, proves to be a very intimidating presence. She has a huge part to play in the standout space sequence, and was just all around awesome. Galactus, though, was magnificent. He isn't the huge amount in the movie, but when he does, oh my, they couldn't have pulled it off any better. You've cast Ralph Ineson, who provides the movement and the voice, and good God, the bass in that voice, it literally shook the walls of my theatre. Matt Shakman also amazingly showcases just the sheer magnitude of Galactus. At one point towards the final act of the film, he is like a Godzilla-esque presence, absolutely bulldozing through the city. He towers over all, and alongside some really top-notch visuals, you get the sense that this is the Galactus that fans of the character have been wanting to see. Also, and I know that I recommend this a lot, and I'm sorry, but in this instance, I really do mean it when I say you need to see the Fantastic Four in IMAX. Not just because it is a great experience and an amazing way to watch films in general, but you'll see plastered through all over the marketing that it has been filmed for IMAX. Those are great. This, though, I think to really appreciate what this film is showing you, IMAX is essential because, especially from the character of Galactus, you miss a lot of his size and stature because of that letterboxed framing that comes in, and so it cuts off. So, in complete honesty, I think IMAX is the only way that if you're a fan of the character and you want to see him in all of his visual grandeur, that is the only way that you're going to actually be able to experience just the sheer behemoth that he is. As for negatives, look, I think the film is great, but it's not a clean home run. The villains, whilst impressive, they don't have the most original or interesting of motives. Whilst for the most part the visuals are spot on, there are a couple that are a little dodgy, especially surrounding a certain character that is introduced around the halfway mark. And it is noticeable that there was a heck of a lot of material that had been left on the cutting room floor. I think I remember reading reports that this film was meant to clock in at about 2 hours 10, and now it's an hour 50. And you can really get the sense that a lot of these scenes had either just been cut entirely or significantly trimmed down, because the pacing of the film often is very rushed. 2 post-credit scenes, as usual. One, the middle credit scene that is very important to stick around for. It is massively laying foundations for what is to come in perhaps some slightly larger ensemble-based projects in the not-too-distant future. The other one, right at the very end, it's fun. It's quite a cool little throwback. It's not essential to you sticking around for, though. You knew that it was coming at some point. So yes, the Fantastic Four First Steps is fantastic. Matt Shakman has made a real name for himself, creating a fun, lively, and exciting superhero adventure with strong familial themes at the center, as well as an assured understanding of the characters. The main quartet of actors all do great work, accurately bringing these characters to life, and it is going to be awesome to see where they go from here. The villains may have been a tad underutilized, but when they do show up, they deliver. It's not quite as tidy as it perhaps could have been, but my oh my, when this film works, it soars incredibly high and reminds us that when Marvel get it right, they get it damn right. So, I'm going to give the Fantastic Four First Steps an 8.5 out of 10. Anyway, guys, those were my thoughts on the Fantastic Four First Steps. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, I would like to know, of the four, which is your favorite Fantastic Four member? Is it Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic? Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, or Ben Grimm, the Thing? And I'm not just talking about this film specifically, I'm talking about anything Fantastic Four related that you have digested. Who has always been the character that stood out the most to you? But this is all the time we have for today, so thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button, and if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.